lot to talk about. There's so much. We got to do like a bi-weekly show now.
All right, everyone. Welcome. Welcome, everyone, to the 10K Rum Podcast. My name is Amos Joseph. I'm joined by my co-host, Brook Potter, who is in the UK. How's it going, Brook?
It's going well, Amos. Obviously, you're out of practice because we've gone more than 1 week. We've gone a week and a day from this last episode. I know. It's just like totally screwed up our circadian rhythm. I'm doing well. I'm doing well out here. Wales is coming out of winter. Not much of a winter that it was. I got another day of snow, which was cute. You know, it just kind of fluffed on the floor, you know, just kind of flapped around meaninglessly. And yeah, it's been an exciting week. There's been a hell of a lot going on. I know you've had an amazing adventure out at some historic sites. So I'm excited to hear all about that. And yeah, we might have somebody tuning in from my home country of Trinidad and Tobago. Well, a couple people actually. And one of them has a friend that thinks you're pretty damn sexy. So that's some good news, bro.
I thought the wording was cute.
Well, yeah, well, you know, Trini, that's close enough, right? So how are you doing?
Yeah.
How was your trip? Welcome back. How are you doing with the return?
Oh man, the jet lag is insane, you know. A whole hour. For everyone who's wondering what we're talking about, over the last weekend from about Wednesday through Sunday, I got back Monday morning. Excuse me. I had met up with the Masculine Geek crew, met up with Vince and a few other people that are part of the community, part of the viewership. We met out in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania.
Ooh.
Pretty much where the many battles were. Got to visit the town. It was out of season, so there weren't a lot of people visiting, but got to see a lot of the sights, have some good food, good drink, and good company. I'll get into a little bit more on it as we go forward, but I just want to, of course, quickly, before we get into any of that,
wash your balls, guys.
Exactly.
Wash your balls.
For anyone who's tuning in for the first time, you do want to support the show, check out Tactical Soap and use the coupon code 10KRUM to get 10% off, and a little bit of that goes to support the show. Or go to subscribestar.com/shitlord-preachers, where you can support the show on a monthly basis for as little as $1 a month.
$1 a month.
Yep. And of course, subscribe to the show, subscribe to the channel, check us out, our previous episodes. And that's that. But yeah, so yeah, head out there. Drove out there, which was fun.
Excellent.
I drove.
How long is that? That's from Minnesota to Pennsylvania. What, 5 hours?
What are you talking about? 5 hours?
Well, how long was it?
17 hours one way.
Jesus Christ, man. What's wrong with you fucking Americans?
I didn't drive the whole way, so I drove part of the way to meet up with one of the guys. Then he picked him up. He drove the rest of the way. And then on our way back, he drove his part, and then I drove the rest of the way back. So
cool.
I only had to drive the 10 hours each way.
Nice.
10-ish hours. So yeah, the way there took a little longer, but then the way back, I pretty much just like the last hour was really interesting for me getting home. I got back like 6, 7 in the morning.
Okay. Drove through the night sort of thing.
Almost, yeah. And I just remember the last hour was getting a little loopy. Was trying to do everything I could to kind of stay awake. And I got back and I just crashed.
I mean that's part of
in bed.
Yeah. I mean, that is part of the reason, you know, you also had some inclement weather yesterday, which is why we're late a day. Did that play into it when you were driving back? Was there a blizzard, you know?
No, there wasn't inclement. No, okay. So for everyone else, like I changed up my work schedule. And then we were going to do the show on Tuesdays, which we are. It's just with me taking all that time off, they kind of had to squeeze me in to fill in some other shifts. But next week we'll be back onto the new Tuesday schedule. So that's why I had to miss yesterday.
Okay.
Because I had to work. But yeah, so we were out there, and the first day we got there, I was out there with Red Crusader, so we've seen him come on the show a couple of times. He's been on Religion Zero at least to ask questions and such. He and I met up. We stayed at an Airbnb that was only a couple blocks away from the city center, so we were still kind of within that like hotspot area.
Nice.
We we met up with Vince to have dinner and some drinks. So we hung out with him the first night, and then the next day, there was a fairly small group of us, so it was pretty much just breakfast, dinner, a lot of talking in between.
How many people would you say showed up?
In total, about 4 or 5 of us.
Okay, kind of small and intimate. How many of the geeks were there?
Just Vince.
Oh, just Vince. Okay, so you were down 2 men.
Yes. Well, technically 3 if you want to count.
Wow, nice.
Yeah. But we were out there, and then on Saturday, we was kind of the main day where we got up, had breakfast, and then in the afternoon we went out to the battlefields.
Right.
So we went to there's monuments for just about every regiment that was there, and there was a regiment from Minnesota.
Oh, interesting.
I didn't even know that, because
the battles. Nice.
Yeah, because the battle of the battles in Gettysburg were the furthest north battle that was during the war, and it was a big turning point for when
forces.
It was a big turning point because the Confederacy lost, but it was a big turning point to kind of like the downturn where the Confederates started to lose more. There were some nice places we got to check out. There was this the Lincoln Diner. Diner that was completely just decked out in Lincoln memorabilia.
For those who don't know American history, Abraham Lincoln did the Gettysburg Address at that location.
Yes.
So that's why it's iconic.
When we walk across the city center, there's always literally we're like visually trying to remember where we're going. There's a statue of Lincoln with some like younger looking guy, and it's him holding the Gettysburg Address in his hand, and it's actually right in front of the hotel where Lincoln had stayed when he was writing the address.
Excellent.
That entire town is just, every other place is just Lincoln memorabilia, Civil War stuff. Like there was a whole shop just with recovered artifacts from the battlefields.
Yeah, all the trinkets and cannonballs, bullet muskets,
cannons,
and shit like that.
Yeah. Because when you go to the battlefield, a lot of that's recovered or on display. And if you happen to find anything, you're technically required to turn it in.
Right.
But, some people just take it. But there was so much snow out there that we couldn't really find anything, even if we wanted to. But there was a lot of hiking. We hiked across, there was Little Round Top and Big Round Top, which are these 2 hills that are significant in the battle. And we hiked up the Big Round Top. I didn't almost die. It's pretty tough.
Uphill is tough. Like I could walk flat for hours, and I had this issue in Norway where we scaled this ridiculous mountain. When that's
right.
It's a very different thing when you have to go uphill, and I'm a short guy, so yeah.
It was 0.8 miles, but it was really steep.
Yes.
Now it's low impact because of the snow. But the snow also kind of makes it tougher.
Yeah, it's a lot more work for traction and stuff.
And then we did a little hiking across the fields too.
Oh, sweet. What is this about bruised nipples that we got in the chat?
So,
do we want to address this? I don't know.
we were trying to do like some creative hiking. We were going between some rocks because part of like this battlefield, there's exposed areas where it's just all rock.
Right.
And we were trying to move between them, and there was snow on the rocks. Yeah. Like if it was just rocks, like it's easy to move around. Just got to watch your balance. So By the way, that's in the chat there. Mictobus, he was there too. I basically slipped on a rock, and my left nipple just went like not into a point, but it was definitely like it was a point on a rock, but it wasn't like a point that could pierce. It was just like, and
thud.
Yeah. Thought, hurt my nipple. And it was actually sore for like a day. Like I'm walking around with a sore nipple.
Were you like massaging it? Were like the ladies offering to massage it?
No. It was just sore. That's all. All good now. Another thing was I actually I have a bad reaction to cold weather. Like I get a cough, like a dry cough.
And you live in Minnesota?
Yeah.
Okay. There seems to be some kind of irony in that whole thing, but okay.
Apparently, just with the hiking, and the cold, and all that, like I coughed so bad that I actually hurt myself.
Really?
Yeah. There was like kind of like in my lower abdomen, there was like this muscle that flexes when you're coughing.
Yeah.
Had basically like got a strain, so I couldn't cough. I just had to sit there and go.
To try and not hurt yourself.
yeah. Even if I cough now, it's stiff, but it's not hurting as much. But it got so bad, and it was a combination of the hiking and the coughing. But yeah, basically, I did like the last little walk they did. I didn't go with them. We did a little. The guys did a little bit of a hike by one of the cemeteries, and they got to meet up with some. There was a lot of people like. I guess doing some like reenactments and stuff. Yeah. Anyways, no,
that's
there was a lot
exciting.
of. It's a really interesting town. I mean, there's a lot of like, Vince was really kind of hyping up a lot of like the haunting and stuff, like the ghost stories.
Oh, cool.
I try not to get too much into it, but definitely like. There's definitely a lot of history there. We didn't get to go to the part of the town. So like not only was the battle in the fields, there was also like a battle to take over the city.
Yes.
And the side of the city where they basically had moved in, there's actually buildings with cannonballs and muskets lodged into the buildings, and they actually reinforced it to maintain for posterity.
Yes.
We didn't get to see any of that.
I mean, you can't see everything, you know.
Yeah. I mean, being in Gettysburg, I was like a couple hours away from DC, New York City, and all this stuff, and I'm like, I can't go see any of that. Like, there.
There's a lot. There's a lot of American history.
I mean, like, I'm just like, if I go out there again, I should say when I go out there again.
Good.
Take more days to just check out everything.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, it was really cool. Just the big thing was just the wind. It was really windy out there. It wasn't really cold in like the sense like Minnesota cold. Like I was working yesterday, and for the viewers who understand Fahrenheit, it was 0 degrees.
Right.
With a wind chill of 13 below zero. So in Celsius, that's
-20, I think.
Yeah,
something like that. I might be off with it, but yeah.
And you know what I do for a living?
Yeah, you're out in that full time, you know, during your day at work. Yeah, I don't think it goes at least here in the UK. It doesn't go below about maybe 10. And I don't know, you know, we're coming out of an ice age and global warming and all that kind of. So they have not had like really bad snow out here in a long time, which I'm kind of grateful for. I like a little snow. I don't like this, you know, frostbite, you know, it'll eat your dick off kind of snow. That's kind of where I draw the line. So
the thing with Gettysburg snow was like, that's that lake effect snow you're getting. So we showed up like right after some snow had hit, and it's just way more snow than Minnesota typically gets.
Right.
Granted, it warmed up right away, and a lot of it was melting. The really weird part was during the day you're walking around, it's just slush and just what, like it's wet.
Yeah.
And then we would hang out with Vince, and then at night, so we'd head back to our Airbnb, and everything freezes.
Right.
So we're walking around, we're like, hey, we're used to like clear sidewalks. Now that little bit of water that's still standing there just immediately freezes. And we're just sledding around on sidewalks. But the only thing I really brought back, and I showed you this, was so we were at this winery called, I think it was Plowman. Mm-hmm. So Plowman, they had a lot of like cider and stuff. But the big thing was they had their own wine that they made, and this has caught our eye because we were hanging out with Vince at the time. So we got this let's see, what is it called? Yeah, white wine, Vincent. And they had these bottles out. I bought one bottle of the printed label, and Vince bought one of this like written label they had. It's good stuff. It's not like your typical sweet sort of like white wine. It's a little more dry.
Yes.
But brought that back with me. And I think that was it. I didn't really bring anything up. I mean, took some pictures. I know some people who've seen my my Instagram or see me on Facebook have seen some of the pictures I posted.
Yes.
I didn't get as many pictures as Red Crusader did. He took like tons of pictures. Cool. We kind of joked like he was being a real tourist, because we were driving through kind of the roads they have going through the battlefields, and it was like every other stop was just, oh, hey, let's stop here, get a picture here, get a picture there. And then we also saw some guys who were there from the Army, which is really interesting. Two bus full of like Army guys were there. I guess, I don't know if it was part of their training or some education thing. They were learning about the battlefields. So
yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. It is a historic spot in terms of the Civil War, and the one things you Americans love is the American history. So you guys are immersed in that kind of stuff. I mean, talking about Washington D.C., I was there for a week, and I barely scratched the surface of the monuments and the stuff out there. So I can imagine all of these sites are decked out to the full. There's a lot to see. And yeah, I'm sure for some people, it's almost like a pilgrimage, like that shaped the nation, what happened at Gettysburg and with the Civil War and other things. So it's almost like holy ground for some people. Yeah, it's pretty cool, man. I'm very excited.
And that's kind of the whole thing is, like, even when you go out to the battlefields, there's a sense of like, reverence that a lot of people will try to practice. They'll go out there and like, you do your hike, you look around, you take it all in, and you're not doing too much to like sort of,
disturb the peace.
Yeah. You didn't hear a lot of people really like, making a noise, or really just like they kind of walk. They'd still talk, but it was very like reverent sort of. Yeah. Even when we were doing the hiking and such on that hill, it was just there's really just like monuments and landmarks just everywhere on that field, honoring all the different regiments, all the different people that were there, the generals, a lot of commanders, all that, just all over the place.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was a good time. Definitely want to go back again. Take more time to look around.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
good. I hope you told Vince that I said hi, and gave him our best. And
yes,
no private lessons. Was he doing like spanking classes or anything?
Oh, we're not. Come on, we're not. That's for another stream.
Right. Well, that will be on the raw takes if anybody's interested. But
yeah. So that was Vince got to stay in this like really nice, almost like a house. I mean, everything there is all like apartments, kind of. They're all part of bigger buildings, but he stayed in this place. It was like, it was a really nice place. I don't know if there are pictures. I'd have to ask him, but yeah, it was. He'll probably have to describe it, because I think this isn't, we haven't confirmed on this yet. They're wanting us to go on Masculine Geek at some point.
Cool.
So we'll hop on there. So we'll definitely it's in the works. So there's no confirmation yet for the listeners, but it's been talked about. So we'll see if that.
Yeah, I think that'll be a lot of fun. Those are some fun guys, and Well, I'm glad you had a good time. I'm glad you're back. I'm glad you got to experience some American history for the first Civil War. The way things are going, there might be a second, so at least you're prepared.
Don't say that.
This seems to be true, but yeah.
We don't want that to happen. I don't want that to happen.
Well, the seeds for that have already been planted. It's kind of late now, but it's been good. It's been good, man.
But yeah, so in our next segment,
I guess as a result of that, you really haven't been following a lot of what's been going on.
Well, I think, do we want to talk about the impeachment?
That's the last thing, because we could probably start with AOC. Yeah, we could probably start with AOC lying about her near-death experience.
Yeah, she went on about some. Yeah, I heard about that. So she went on about some near-death experience. How she was, how she was really traumatized by the Capitol thing. The thing that happened to Capitol with people breaking into it and breaching the Capitol.
Yeah, the raid on the Capitol.
The raid. There we go. That's a better word. Yeah. And I guess she compared it to some sexual assault thing.
No, that's after. That's after when it was exposed by, I can't remember who the author was, that she was not in the Capitol building. She was in the building
across the street or something.
Across the street, right? Yeah, exactly, right? And when the siege was happening, there's protocol. All the members are evacuated. A police officer came to her door because she refused to follow the protocol, basically putting his life at risk, to be fair. And he's banging on the door, and that terrified her because of, the look of derangement in his eyes. He's always a Trump supporter in disguise and stuff like that.
Cop.
He's a fucking cop, right? He's
Capitol Police. He's there to protect you.
Exactly. And just across the hall from her is another representative, a Republican, who says, look, there was never any danger. They were never in harm's way. Nobody breached this building. And this person kind of gave the testimony that she was getting on hysterical. Anyway, so eventually the journalist kind of exposed that she was not even there. And she instead of owning up to it, she doubled down on it and said, well, what about the tunnels? They could have gotten in the tunnels, which of course never happened. None of these people got into any of the tunnels. So again, that was bullshit. And then she pulled a Me Too moment about sexual assault.
Oh, geez.
Yes. How fantastic. Look at me. I have to be the victim. I must find a way to be a victim out of this whole thing, even though I've been caught lying. That's what it is.
Yeah, because for the people who were in the Capitol, some people there was some cause for concern. I'll just say, in the lightest way, there was some cause for concern for some members.
You don't know if people breach. You don't know what they're doing, if they're
exactly. Yeah, so there's that.
Agree.
But that was only for those that were there, and probably really just the ones that were closest to the door.
Yeah.
For the rest, who were immediately evacuated as soon as that door was being breached. Yes, there's a cause for concern. Yes, they're being evacuated. But that's they're responding to a threat. With her across the way. And a bit, where was it? Just some other office she had.
Yeah, it's I can't remember what the name of the office is, but it is across the way. It is a ways away, as they say. And there was never any breach.
And there are tunnels that connect them. We know that.
Yes. Yeah, there's massive tunnel system in Washington, D.C. But, those are all secured. Those are all... Yeah. There's an underground rail. You saw pictures of all the senators in the Congress jumping on this underground train system. All of that. None of that was built.
A lot of these things, from my understanding, were built the first tunnels were built when DC was first forming into what we know today, and it was sort of the earliest ways the Secret Service and just the U.S. government would protect a lot of these high level government officials, including the president, was just through tunnels. Nowadays, there's different ways. Of course, there's high-tech bunkers and all this stuff they have. But
yeah,
because I heard during the initial raid, there was certain congressmen and reporters who were in there that basically were able to still contact news organizations and say, hey, we're fine. We can't say where we are, but we're fine.
Yes.
And I presume that a lot of them were in these tunnels. But yeah, I saw this whole thing, and a lot of people were jumping on it, making memes. They were comparing it to the one, those set of pictures that were taken of her
at the detention center.
At the detention center, and she was sitting there crying and showing this,
which wasn't a detention center.
Wasn't a detention center. Plus, there was nothing there.
It was a car park that she claimed that she was like pulling on the wall, the gate, screaming at the detainees, and it was an empty car park that she staged those pictures at. Yes, so this is a habit when it comes to AOC.
Just because I've like people try to like make fun of her because of her background or certain past jobs. Like she used to be a bartender. I remember.
Yes.
And if I understand it correct, I mean, unless she was like a bartender at like, I don't know, TGI Fridays or something, like you're typically used to like, a little bit of ruckus, a little bit of roughhousing between customers. Like people get drunk, things can get out of hand. But you as a bartender, you're kind of like, you handle that. Like you handle
not with the snowflake generation, constant victim complex, woke.
But I'm saying no. I'm just saying in her specific case, it's actually you'd think like as a bartender she would have some sort of experience dealing with more tough customers, so to speak. But
evidently not. She was so oppressed that she ran for Congress to try and change the rules. So
and here she is, across the way, far away from a raid.
Yeah,
and a cop freaks her out.
And what's even worse with that is even after all of these shenanigans, so she's a careerist. She knows how to play the internet victim game. Fine. She went out and actually told her supporters to scan the Twitterverse and find anybody who was questioning, her experience and to report them to, like the FBI and over people tweeting that basically she'd been caught lying. Right? I mean, this is Gestapo type shit that she's talking about, right? This is like, turning Americans against Americans sort of thing. Yeah. This is what's really disturbing about that whole experience. This woman has power, for fuck's sake. How crazy is that?
Speaking of which, did you hear about some bill that Marco Rubio is trying to introduce?
Is that the gun bill? I did.
Yeah.
Where he's supporting the idea that the cops can on suspicion without real cause come and seize your guns. Is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah, if you're being investigated for terrorism in any way, even just investigated, you could have your guns taken away.
I did hear that. I think there was a ruling coming up at the Supreme Court in the not too distant future about this exact thing, like whether the police can come and take your guns based on suspicion.
But the fact is that if he's pushing for that, if a section of Republicans, and of course all Democrats would be for that, that's a bit concerning. But yeah, I just heard about that the other day, and I was like, and so someone actually said, now then, with all the claims that, like the really, really loose claim that they want to say that, Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz basically instigated the riots. The raid on the Capitol, like they were behind it. So if someone just came up just basically on that claim decided we're going to investigate Rubio because he may have led to, the Capitol raiding, he gets his guns taken away.
Yeah, that is the implication.
Because anyone could use it for any reason. On the left and the right.
It's coupled with what's going on right now with basically what's amounting to Patriot Act 2.0.
Yeah.
Which is turning the war on terror against Americans. Right? In fact, not that long ago on CNN, you had a spokesperson, one of these people, talking about how who was the Senate guy, McConnell, understanding how to deal with those who incite terrorism in international environments, there was a policy adopted by Obama to use drone strikes against even American citizens. So al-Awari, I think, was an American. He joined the terrorist act, and Obama authorized the strike. And this woman on live television says that why is it that Mitch McConnell doesn't implement that exact same strategy against Americans in the U.S.?
Drone strikes in the U.S.
Drone strikes against domestic terrorists. Now, she didn't say it exactly like that, but the implication is very hard to avoid. Said it on national television. And she basically...
That's
So what's happening? What's happening is... And again, the siege thing is the crux of all of this. This is basically, the burning of the Reichstag for the Nazis, what they used in Germany to basically eradicate human rights and turn against the populace, give rise to Nazism, deport the Jews. They had their own insurrection, and it now looks like the U.S. government is using those same tactics against the American people. Yeah, and this law that you talked about, the gun law, all they have to do is basically say, everybody who's a Trump supporter is a domestic terrorist. And that gives precedent for all of these sorts of ridiculous antics. Yeah. That's what's going on. That's fucking crazy.
It's crazy how like someone from a Republican is trying to introduce this bill.
Yeah, Rubio was a careerist, but I think he realizes he's defunct, right? He was like an anti-Trumper. He does not have the support of the Latin American community, so he figures he's not going to get reelected. And the base of power has shifted to the Democrats, right? So the Democrats have the House, the Senate, and the House. If he has any chance of doing anything, he's got to play by their rules. So he's curtailing to them at this point. He's done. I don't think Rubio has a chance at anything.
No, I get that. I'm just looking at it like this is a big problem.
Oh yeah. I mean, there's so much that's going on with the power grab that's taking place in the US right now. And this whole domestic terrorist nonsense that they're pushing. It's becoming more and more evident that the raid on the Capitol, however you want to call it, is giving the Democrats everything they wanted. It shut down the debate of evidence about the election. It's given them the ability to extend these draconian Patriot Act evasive tactics, and it's giving them leverage to come after the guns. So I'm not saying that the Democrats instigated this whole thing, but they sure are fucking benefiting from it.
Yeah. Speaking of which, do we want to get into impeachment yet?
No. There's so much more. We have to address the Time magazine scandal.
I didn't hear about this one.
Oh no, bro, where have you been?
Gettysburg.
Yeah, Gettysburg. Yeah, clearly. So let me just go up to my notes here, man. These Time magazine. So I'm quoting Time magazine. YouTube, overlords, do not strike us down with banning us and all this other kinds of stuff. Time magazine writes an article, the title of which is "The Secret History of the Shadow Campaign That Saved the 2020 Election." And it goes on to say that they used politicians, corporations, unions, and poll workers to basically secure the US elections. That included changing legislation, opening up for more voter mail-in voting, and all of these things to fend off voter suppression, which basically means anything can vote, including a cat and a dog. And they went on to say that all of these things, including the Republicans, so this is like the Lincoln Project, the Never Trumpers, and these other people who...
You have the article?
Yeah, I do. Right. I will put it in the chat for anybody who wants to see it. Here we go. I will put it in our private chat as well, if you can pull it up. But basically, this is an admission that this group of people, these corporations, unions, poll workers, and others, changed the laws, the voting laws, including recruiting poll workers and all of these other shenanigans to quote unquote secure, or as they said, allow the correct outcome of the election. And there's names, this is an admission of the fraud. Like, it does not get more blatant than this.
Pull this up. Come on. There we go. There we go.
There we go.
Let's see. Weird thing happened right after election. After the November 3rd election, nothing. The nation braced for chaos. Liberal groups had vowed to take to the streets, planning hundreds of protests across the country. Roving militias were girding for battle. In a poll before Election Day, 75% of Americans voiced concern about violence.
This is a long article. So scroll down a little bit. You'll see. Right. So right. That's the top paragraph you have there. It says, it was very strange, Trump said on December 2nd, within days after the election, we witnessed an orchestrated effort to anoint the winner, even while many states were still being counted. In a way, Trump was right. And this is where we get it. There was a conspiracy unfolding behind the scenes. One that both curtailed the protest, coordinated in resistance from
the resistance CEOs.
Yeah.
Both surprises were the result of an informal alliance between left-wing activists and business titans. The pact was formalized in a terse, little-noticed joint statement of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and AFL-CIO published on Election Day. AFL-CIO, those are like the two biggest unions.
Yes, it's the biggest unions in the U.S.
Both sides would like to come to some sort of implicit bargain, inspired by the summer's massive, sometimes destructive racial justice protests in which the forces of labor came together with the forces of capital to keep the peace and oppose Trump's assault on democracy.
Yes.
The handshake between business and labor was just one component of a vast cross-partisan campaign to protect the election, an extraordinary shadow effort dedicated not to winning the vote, but to ensuring it would be free and fair, credible, and uncorrupted. For more than a year, a loosely organized coalition of operatives scrambled to shore up America's institutions as they came under simultaneous attack from a remorseless pandemic and an autocratically inclined president.
Yeah, go down to the next paragraph. Their work touched every aspect of the election.
They got states to change voting systems and laws to help secure hundreds of millions in public and private funding. They fended off voter suppression lawsuits, recruited armies of poll workers, and got millions of people to vote by mail for the first time. They successfully pressured social media companies to take a harder line against disinformation and used data-driven strategies to fight viral smears.
Which is the Biden laptop.
They executed national public awareness campaigns that helped Americans understand how the vote count would unfold over days or weeks, preventing Trump's conspiracy theories and false claims of victory from getting more traction. After Election Day, they monitored every pressure point that ensured that Trump could not overturn the result.
It's a fucking admission. Of course, they say, no, we're just shoring up democracy. But one man's disinformation is, as I say, the Hunter Biden laptop, which is a story that broke just before the election that was suppressed. It came out from the New York Post, which is the oldest newspaper in the US. And Twitter killed the story and killed the Post. They suspended the account.
Was it New York Times that posted about it too?
Eventually, yeah. After the election, the New York Times came out and said it was all true. But this is what they're talking about. They're saying, it's used to, curtail misinformation. Yeah, one misinformation is basically the truth, But it's a long article. You're more than welcome to read it. I put it there for the people to read it. This is scandalous. It's basically a smoking gun. Your election system is fucked, right? That's basically what this says.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a pretty detrimental strike on democracy.
Yeah,
he was right. There was a conspiracy. Look at that. And they're admitting it. But you see, this is also a tactic of the left, which the right has to learn. This is going to come out. There are so many moving parts to this thing. There is absolutely no way this can stay quiet for any kind of capacity. So propaganda rule 101. when something is gonna come out, you get in front of it. You try to shape the narrative before it all falls apart. That's why they're basically putting their stamp on it. In fact, in recent days, another video has come out from the TCF Center showing the ballots being offloaded from a truck and being wheeled into the TCF Center. And it's all on video. And I think the Gateway pundit put it out and they got nuked. Twitter basically suspended them as well. Right. And not that it matters. And even Tim Pool was the one who said this. His friend Cassandra Fairbanks works for the Gateway pundit. She broke the story about more video footage, and you can see it there, voter mobile, unloading the ballots, all at 3 a.m. All of it's there. And Tim Pool is like, they've admitted it. And he points to the Time magazine. Why else would you need poll workers to be recruited to this effort if it's a legitimate vote?
Right.
So, yeah. Democracy is dead in the United States. The elites can rig it to whatever they want.
So impeachment.
Right. Well, we'll get to impeachment. That's not a very long story because
that's literally. There's that because I've caught up on some things regarding impeachment that I think.
Right. Okay. We can hit the impeachment. I mean, there's not much going on with the impeachment because it's only day 2.
Well, I think the big thing is, so first off, we have a different president now. So who are we trying to impeach? That's the first question. And even if, so first off, when they started up, they had to take a vote. This is really funny. So when you have an impeachment, you're supposed to have a judge presiding.
No. You have to have the Chief Justice presiding.
Yeah, Chief Justice. So he's not there.
He's not there because it's unconstitutional, right?
Because and then everyone was like, "Oh, what the hell is Rand Paul doing coming up here saying if it's constitutional?" He at least understands whether or not it's constitutional. Like, and then people started likening it to saying, "Oh, so you're saying that like presidents can just do whatever the hell they want all the way up? What is it they called it? The January exception or whatever?"
Right.
And it's
I don't know what that is, but
there's an argument
up to the point where they leave office.
Yeah, and it's like, because if like the procedure doesn't kick in fast enough, you could just get away with it because you can't get impeached. And it's like, well, this is the thing. The burden of proof, the threshold for the burden of proof to convict with impeachment and removal is substantially lower than if this was some sort of a criminal case.
Sure.
And that's the thing, is this is not a criminal case anymore. This is purely
partisan politics.
Hey, is this constitutional? We'll vote on it. That's literally how they determined it.
I know.
And it's a simple majority. I think it was 54-46.
54-44. 46. You're right. Yeah, because it's No. It was 56-44. So 6 Republicans sided with the Democrats, and these are all the never Trumpers, Mitt Romney, and these guys.
So here they are running with this.
Yes.
To vote if it's constitutional,
which is not how you determine if something is constitutional.
The only and usually, and even even the Supreme Court, when they technically vote.
Yeah.
But they have to go through a lot of argument to do that. They don't just, okay, we're going to vote on this.
It's not their job in the Senate to vote if something is constitutional.
So it's essentially an impeachment of a private citizen at this point.
Correct. And it's purely political. And it's a waste of taxpayers' money. We must.
People say, there's no constitutional. Well, the Constitution basically says for the impeachment and removal, those are connected. You can't remove someone that's not there anymore.
Correct.
Therefore, it doesn't meet the conditions. Therefore, you cannot go through with this. Now, if you really want to, I was listening to Steven Crowder talk about this. You can really want to. He wins 2024 and you impeach him on the first day and see if that goes anywhere.
Exactly.
But this is the thing. You don't, once you're already passed, and I think, McConnell kind of played it a certain way where he didn't call for an emergency session of the Senate to begin the impeachment. Because if they began it before Trump was out of office, I can kind of see them play that. But the fact that it didn't even start, it's just going, no, what are you going to do with this? Because even if all of this goes through to the end, they're not going to be able to convict them of anything.
Correct.
Because they need I think it's 60 votes.
They need 60
and
votes.
They're not going to get that.
Correct. Even at the worst vote that's passed so far, I think he's lost one more Republican. So it's 57. They don't have the votes. Even if you bring in the vice president, you got 50. And the 44 basically said this is ridiculous. They're going to sleep through this thing. They're not going to convict him. So this is there are these progressive lawyers that are basically trying to say that the removal from office and the penalty are two different things. You can't impeach him without the supermajority, but you can apply all of the penalties, basically meaning he can't run again with a simple majority. That's complete bullshit. There is no standing. You cannot give somebody the penalty without the conviction.
There's no separate from there. It's just, it's all one motion. It's
like, I can punish you even though you're not guilty.
The House passes their articles of impeachment. It then goes to the Senate, and the Senate has a trial.
Yes.
To determine if we're going to remove. There's no separate things from that.
No, you cannot inflict the punishment on somebody who hasn't been found guilty in the trial. So that's like, yeah, you're acquitted of murder, but we're going to throw you in prison anyway. It's like, that is not how justice works. But it shows how badly the Democrats.
The thing is, you're comparing it to a criminal case.
But just as a I know, yeah, but just to say, like, you can't inflict the penalties of them never holding office again without the conviction. And I was just giving an example.
Yeah, but this is the thing: is like, yeah, if they wanted to actually get him on something, they can't. They have to go through an impeachment trial because it has to be. This is the unfortunate loophole within an impeachment is you can impeach a president purely by just the votes.
Partisan vote without any evidence. Exactly.
It's the Senate. Now, of course, you need the Senate to do any sort of removal. Yeah, and you could just, I mean, you could technically just keep impeaching a president over and over again.
Yeah, just on the votes. If you have the votes, you can impeach him a million times.
And the Senate could just be like, we're still not going to convict him. And you could have a president with just dozens of impeachments, but no actual, like.
Yeah, it doesn't matter because the Senate and the House are not like part of the criminal justice system per se.
Yeah.
So like the vote on whether it's constitutional does not actually make it constitutional. It just means they got the votes for it.
It just means we're voting to continue with this thing. That's all it really was. It wasn't. Yeah. You're not the Supreme Court to determine if something's constitutional or not. Because surprise. The legislature passes all sorts of laws that are not constitutional all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
Because the votes, as long as they vote and then the president signs, and no one wants to take it to court,
it'll stand. But if somebody does, it's knocked out. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's the same thing. It's the whole thing with the Patriot Act. It's the whole thing with, we could even we did, and it's the same thing with that whole Marco Rubio thing with the taking your guns away thing. You said there was a Supreme Court case that's going to come up with that.
Yes.
Which could help or couldn't. You never know where that's going to go. But yeah, I'm just looking at this whole thing. I'm like, if you guys had a solid case, you would actually try to your incitement claim is against Trump, what could actually stand, the scrutiny of a court, but it can't. It only stands the scrutiny of an impeachment trial, which is meaningless.
It's completely
meaningless. At this point, it's just like you're not doing. This is all political points. Yeah. They're gonna go through this entire thing, which they claim is like, oh, we're gonna be doing this, and focus on the stimulus, and make sure there's a budget going forward. Yeah, we'll do all that. Like, because they said we were supposed to be getting what was it? Like COVID relief was supposed to be. There's going to be a new stimulus thing that was going to be by now. Yeah. But now they're doing this whole thing.
No, I mean it's very clear that your government doesn't really care about what the people want.
Yeah. Right? It's all just we're just going to screw around more with this. We know we're not going to get a conviction. We know we're not going to actually do anything, but we just want to get our points in. Because all these statements, because I was hearing all these lawmakers just talking about whatever they're talking about. And I'm like, these are just speeches for sound bites. This is just sound bites for, for your commercial, your reelection, campaigns.
For exactly that. And
Senator so and so said President Trump is, this and that, and he's a constitutional scholar who stood against the what?
Yeah. I mean, the case for incitement has fallen apart. The timeline of events does not fit the narrative, and it's very clear that
they're saying question an election result is incitement enough,
which is nonsense.
Totally bullshit.
Yeah, you're allowed. The Democrats have been questioning the election of Trump since 2016 with Russiagate for 4 fucking years. Are they gonna?
On Inauguration Day, DC was nearly getting destroyed.
Yeah, there was rioting and BLM and all that nonsense in 2016. So if that's the precedent they're gonna use, well, Obama better watch his ass then. I mean, they can pull up anybody at this point and say that they were inciting violence. It's bullshit. But the timeline doesn't fit because Trump was still speaking when the raid was taking place.
Yep.
Right. And even the FBI, who is not exactly a pro-Trump, institution at this point, is admitting that it looks like the people who did incite, they've actually kind of gotten some people. This was well planned in advance. They've arrested a number of instigators. Not all of them are right wing. Some of them are left wing BLM types and Antifa types and stuff like that. It was coordinated. And with that, of course, you got a couple grannies and, a couple flag waving patriots that stormed as well, who had no clue what was going on. So the idea that Trump instigated that, there's zero evidence. When you have the words coming out of the man's mouth, peaceful, right? You all are going to march on the Capitol and the Supreme Court peacefully.
No one's going to sit there and try to take out. Remember when all those people on the left tried to storm the Supreme Court?
Yeah.
No one talks about that. No one also talks about how I think it was Wisconsin. There was a Capitol that was, where the Capitol was occupied for a week.
Yeah. And it was brave feminists. It was against Kavanaugh at the time, where they stormed the Capitol. Right. They stormed the Senate. We have seen all of this before. And when it's the left doing it, it's like, oh, they're defending their rights. Oh, yes, solidarity. When BLM is burning the city to the ground, Kamala Harris is, we got to raise money and bail these people out,
But then you find out that the Capitol Police were pretty much letting these people in.
Yeah. And there's even video of them, people screaming at them, look, they're smashing the window. Why don't you do anything? And they're just there. The Capitol Police are just standing by.
Was it the guy that was sitting in Pelosi's office came in hey, you got to get out of here? Yeah, that was the worst of it. Hey, buddy, come on.
Yeah. I mean, there's video of.
He's not no, get the hell out of here. Or nothing. No, just hey.
Yeah, there's video of them coming into the Senate. The shaman is there, and the Capitol Police is hey guys, don't do anything. It's oh no, we're not going to do anything. We're just going to take some pictures. And he's this is holy ground. It's patriots. These people love the country. They love this, the democracy. They're not doing anything crazy. Now, not to say they didn't have some crazies. We know that for sure. Yeah. But if this was a BLM riot, the place would have been on fire.
Did you now this is obviously satire.
Yes.
This in it because I posted this. I thought it was hilarious. I'd have to pull it up here. Let's see. There we go. So
by the way, Pelosi has ended. Any minority party is no longer allowed to sit on any commissions.
Huh.
Yeah, a 200-year-old precedent. So anybody who might be an independent or anybody who might be a green or whatever, they are no longer allowed to sit on any committees in the House and the Senate. They're really isolating power.
I thought this was pretty funny.
Yeah, what's that, man?
Now, I am fully aware that this is satire, so if anyone thinks I'm taking this seriously, no, I'm not. I thought it was hilarious just right from the start, but then someone found out no, this is a complete satire article. Lindell, Capitol rioters were drugged by Antifa sluts.
What is this on? This is not like
the Business Standard News. So this, I think what happened was this
satire side.
So it got archived because they took it down.
Right.
But again, complete satire. The rioters were hypnotized by Antifa temptresses who hid psychoactive drugs in their vaginas. If you look at the video, many of the rioters had crazed look in their eyes.
That's funny. I mean, speaking of Mike Lindell, though, I mean, he's been in the news quite recently. He's put out a documentary. I don't know if you've seen this.
I heard about it. Curious to see what he's gonna put together, because I know Newsmax even was pretty much like done with him and kind of just kicked him off.
Yeah, I mean, there is a bit of confusion with that because they invited him on to speak about the tech censorship. Yeah. And he wanted to talk about voter fraud, so they kind of shut him down. Like, can we get back on topic? And that it didn't go well. I didn't see it, but I heard it was pretty bad. But Mike Lindell actually put out his documentary, and it's available on Gab.com on what is it, TV.gab.com, because they have their own YouTube equivalent at this point. And it's called Absolute Proof, and it's all of the data, all of the voter fraud allegations. It's all of the people, the scientists, the specialists, the poll workers giving their stories and stuff like that. 2 hours long. I didn't watch it because it's kind of like I've been on top of this pretty much from the beginning, so I don't really think there's anything new that's coming in. But yeah, as a result of that, MyPillow, so Mike Lindell, if people who may not know, he owns MyPillow. Mm-hmm. He's been dropped from all of, I think, Bed Bath & Beyond, Walmart, Sears. Well, I think Sears has gone through. Yeah, they've basically pulled his product from all of these places. And even that, the guy, was it Michael Hogg or the anti-gun guy? I can't remember.
David Hogg.
David Hogg is now saying he wants to start a pillow company to compete with MyPillow. And the joke is, what are they going to call it? Our Pillow? You know, fucking communist, you know?
Red Pillow.
Yeah, it's like these people don't know there are more than one pillow company out there. Like, everybody's competing with MyPillow.
No, I mean, I remember hearing about MyPillow for a while. It was a pretty stand up, pretty solid company.
It's a good. I think I experienced the MyPillow in the US once, and it was pretty good, actually.
You experienced it?
Yeah. So a friend of mine was staying in his house.
Tell me about this experience, Brooke.
No, it was a good pillow. That's and Twitter banned him off Twitter as well. Lindell has been banned off Twitter.
Yeah, this is looking pretty interesting. How just
there's no more debate. There's no more discussion. It's as of today. I don't know. I saw this article on TechCrunch. Facebook, which is very upset because Steven Crowder and Ben Shapiro are the biggest audiences on Facebook, which is rightly so.
They pulled away.
Right, well, right, but those are look. Facebook is boomer tube, right? You know, it's people my age, right? It's old people like me who still use Facebook. The young people, Snapchat, TikTok, and stuff. So they're going to be more conservative. They're going to just naturally be more in line with Ben Shapiro and stuff like that. But as of today, they are testing in the US, Canada, Brazil, and I think Indonesia. They're downgrading any political post in the US and these other places. So they're testing it out. They're testing an algorithm that's going to affect and basically shadow ban any political post. To which Ben Shapiro and, the types, Crowder and these other types are going to be most severely affected.
Well, Crowder's already suing.
Yeah, he is.
Facebook. So just a real quick little thing on that. I think I've mentioned it. So, fully aware that Facebook has every right to do what they want with their platform.
Sure.
But the fact that they have time and time again in hearings, in front of the Senate and court hearings, all have said, we do not have these practices. Shadow ban. Huh?
You mean the tech companies? Yeah.
Yeah, the tech companies in general will say we don't shadow ban, we don't have algorithms to do this, or the algorithms are too complicated, we don't know what it does. No, we know what it does. Like it obviously filters out a lot of more right-wing sources than left-wing sources.
Yes.
So all this is happening. I said, okay, so you say you don't do it, but you obviously do it. You're lying.
Yes.
So Crowder's lawyer, Bill Richmond, is suing Facebook for that.
Half Asian lawyer. Yes.
Half Asian Bill Richmond. Yeah.
He's absolutely right to do it.
Yeah.
They're guilty
because they're like it's not a quite like again, it's not a question of if they have the right, it's just they're lying. Like this is what I like. It's a different angle because the way I'm looking at it is these big tech companies have every right to whatever they want to do. If they want to have, leftist Twitter and, or some people call left book or whatever, if they want to do that, fine. Say that. Be aware of that. In your terms and conditions, state that you have these biases, but you don't. You say you have these vague words.
Yeah, hate speech and
okay, fine. You want to enforce hate speech in the way that certain people see it. Fine.
Define it.
Don't arbitrarily use it one way versus another, and then say you don't do that.
Correct. Don't lie under oath to the Senate and say you're doing something.
Exactly.
Not doing something that you are. Yeah, completely agree. In fact, there is I think, I don't know if we discussed this in one of the other shows. I don't have the notes of it here, but there is a constitutional standing that the government cannot use private corporations to silence and get around the Constitution. So Twitter silencing a political opponent at the behest of the Democrat Party and all these leftists screaming.
You would have to prove that connection, though.
Any kind of, well, they've admitted it in the Time magazine article. They said that they used it to pressure with big tech. They have admitted it, that this cabal has been used in a political avenue to circumvent the First Amendment. It is unconstitutional. And there is a case. I can't remember what the case is, but it had to do with private schools and stuff. We discussed it in a previous show. But yeah, that is actually something that is enshrined in the Constitution, and the Supreme Court has upheld it. So if there's anybody like a AOC or Pelosi or anything screaming about misinformation, which is an innocuous term, and demanding that Twitter and all these other companies do something about this, these right-wing conspiracies, they're breaking the law, and they can go to court, and the Supreme Court will uphold it. That's actually a thing. That is actually a thing. And they're terrified of it because not only are they doing it for the First Amendment, they're going about gathering personal data on people, which is also against the Constitution. They're using these companies to circumvent privacy laws.
Did you ever look at the Google ad information they have on you?
I've never looked at it for myself. I know they have it. I know they have the stuff. You can request to see it.
Yeah. So I've looked at it.
Oh, you looked at your interesting. What did you find?
Some things were like, okay, yeah, that's pretty easy to figure out, how old I am, political beliefs and stuff like that. Okay, there's that. That's like a first level. But then as you get into some really deep, and I'm like, really?
Like what? Give an example of something you're willing to share.
Let me. I'll pull.
No, you don't need to. Just something. I don't want you to show all of that.
I'm not going to show it. No.
Yeah. So they get into like your psychology and like, are you prone to liking guns and stuff? Is that kind of what they're doing?
No. What is it called? Ad preferences. There's a specific type of data thing.
Right.
Ad settings.
Oh, for anybody who's interested in the lawsuit that I mentioned by the Supreme Court, it's Norwood versus Harris, 1973. So I'll put that in the description if anybody's interested.
All right. So it knows I'm 25 to 34. I'm male. These are so here's some random ones that make no sense to me why they're here.
Right.
Babies and toddlers, baby care and hygiene, and baby feeding.
Maybe you like boobs.
There's that, but it's like, what do babies have to do with this?
Okay, I don't know what you've been looking at in your porn history, but you know.
Hey. No, really, no, I haven't. No,
yeah, I know. I'm just teasing you. It's
Jesus fucking Christ. For a raw takes, everyone. No, and then randomly, boating. I've never shown an interest in boating.
I'm sure as you say that right now, the algorithm is changing. Okay, take that off. We're not going to look at that.
But then there's certain things like, okay, day trading, business finance, business stuff. Okay, that makes sense.
Makes sense.
Camera equipment, music,
podcasting,
coffee.
Yeah, good. Does it say if you're gay or straight or anything like that?
Doesn't. Dating and personals, that makes sense because I go to like dating apps and such.
Right.
But then let's see. Green living and environmental issues. What?
I didn't know you were part of the Green Party. Dang.
Or hockey. I've never gotten into hockey.
We have talked about hockey on the show very briefly about like the Vikings and the skull as the salute. So maybe they're listening to the show and they just kind of drop that in there and they assume you're in Minnesota. So that's like maybe an assumption.
Yeah. House painting and finishing.
Crazy.
Iowa. just randomly Iowa.
I have no idea what that is. Okay. Is there anything spicy, anything in that, like, you know, deep, dark secret that, you know, you could reveal that they may have found?
Trying to find romance films.
Okay. I guess
I think that's maybe it's connection because we talk about like women and dating and stuff. It just connects that somehow. I don't know.
Oh, fair enough.
I'll have to show you when we're done with the stream, but
yeah,
pretty interesting what they found.
I'll check it out. I'll pull up mine and see if I can find anything interesting. Send me the link and I'll see what it is.
Yeah, it's funny because basically this is just like anything you've ever mentioned at any point on Google and stuff. Like it'll basically it'll put a little tag to say, all right.
So what did it say for your political leanings? Did it say anything? Did you say that you're Hoppian? You know, are you like?
Yeah, I'm a libertarian. I've never said I'm Hoppian by any means.
No, I was just wondering if you know they basically kind of class you as an extremist of some kind.
Yeah.
He's a patriot. Get him.
Let me actually. Let's see here. Doesn't even say.
I mean, we can get into we can dig into that. It's not a very interesting show if we just do a whole bunch of Google searches. So, I mean, there's a lot going on with China, man. What's going on across in the what do they call it?
China.
The
Taiwan Strait.
The Rising Kingdom. No, what is it called? I can't remember what it's called. But yeah, there's a lot of crap going on out there, man. How is the family in Taiwan? Are they like prepping? Are they being moved to the bunkers?
Oh, there's been prep like since I could remember. I mean,
I think since Biden has got in, it's
yeah. There's a video that I've shown people. Let's see. Basically, it's so if anyone knows the infographics show, their channel.
Yes.
And I will put this video in the chat. Exactly. So for anyone who wants to check this out in the chat, I think this is a really solid video. This is going to all our platforms. But this is basically the infographics show, which they do a lot of animated videos, which are really good. And they did a video basically talking about, can Taiwan hold off a Chinese invasion?
Oh, I've seen that video. Yes.
It's really good. I'm quite pleased with what I saw. Like, okay, good. Like this is showing it's not 100% positive.
Yeah, in theory, it's possible.
Yeah. So the basics of it is China tries to invade, but with all the buildup they're going to do, Taiwan would be very well equipped to get ready as well.
Yeah.
And they would basically hold off China long enough for the U.S. and Japan to intervene.
In theory, yeah, that's the plan. Well, it was until Biden got in, and now we're not so sure.
Yeah, that's the thing, because that's the big people have asked me about it, and I had a conversation over the weekend about this with some of the guys that just said the big question that China has to answer,
yes,
is will the U.S. respond if they make a move? So
correct.
Everything they do is just little bits to basically see what is the threshold. Yeah, it's just seeing that comfort. Like if we do a little bit here, a little bit there, will the U.S. do anything? No. Okay, we'll do a little more. No,
yes.
They won't do anything. We'll do a little more.
Yes.
And then they keep going until they go, all right, now that we're here, how much further of a leap would it be to a full-blown invasion?
Correct.
And how would that, okay, maybe a full-blown invasion will get the U.S. involved. Maybe not. Maybe it'll take longer.
Yeah, salami tactics is what you do it in like small incremental changes.
Yeah.
And Obama was the one who dropped the ball on this, because when they started moving into the South China Sea and attacking like the fishing villages, in the Philippines. Yeah.
Yep.
So they were attacking the fishing villages and stuff like that. And I don't know who it was, in the Obama administration, basically said, we're not going to intervene over a bunch of fish.
One of the worst diplomatic incidents in recent history.
That's about to be challenged, because Biden is doing all that he can to basically sell you guys out to China. I don't know how much you've seen of his recent orders.
I know there was the
power grid.
Power grid.
So Trump had a ban on all equipment used in the national grid cannot come from any enemy state, including China, because they intercepted a transformer that had these very interesting circuits in it that basically could switch off the power from China. Biden lifted that, and it's under review. And even the press secretary, like for one of the few times that the U.S. media actually asked the question, like, this makes no sense. Like, why would Biden lift the restriction, even though it's under review, for importing technology from China for the electrical grid? I mean, you could leave the ban in place and still do the review. Like, why the hell would you lift it? That's pretty fucking crazy, if you ask me.
This whole the left is getting a real rude awakening as to what they gave up just to get a not Trump person. Yeah, just to get Trump out.
Well, the few people that actually did vote for Biden, yes. We know most of those are dead. But yeah, I agree. It is a rude wake-up call for what about the Confucian Institute? Did you hear about that?
No.
So again, the Confucian Institute funds your education system. They do grants to primary, secondary, and tertiary level education, basically to push CCP propaganda on all of your education, on all of the kids. Trump put a ban on it. Guess who lifted the ban? Biden. In fact, you had a couple people arrested in universities that were basically handing over top secret information through the Confucian Institution. They were arrested. So Biden is very friendly. Let's just say very, very friendly. Maybe too friendly with the Chinese regime. Yeah. How crazy is that?
Just a little bit. Yeah, and I there's definitely plans in place for my family, and I've said this multiple times. My family has plans in place. I know the Taiwanese government has plans in place that if shit hits the fan, there's a lot they can do in the meantime.
Good.
But it's just like you said, the salami tactic. The real question is like, well, China and the U.S. under Biden is doing all these things that they're doing. There's just this. That is the question that has to be answered. Will the U.S. intervene, and how soon would they? How quickly would they intervene? Would it be an immediate deployment to basically like, stop a halfway invasion, or would the U.S. have to step in and try to retake Taiwan?
Correct.
Would Japan have to? How much? Japan is pretty on board.
Yeah, Japan is a very solid ally of the America and Taiwan. And I think Japan
and having a better view of the situation, I think they would intervene a lot sooner. It's just the U.S. that's the big question.
Correct.
And that's just, I mean, with each administration, that becomes a different question. With Trump, I had no real concern that what would really go on with there, like step in, take care of that.
He made that clear even in his campaign, that he was definitely going to be tough on China. And he was. He was actually quite brilliant. I think
as president-elect, he met with Taiwan's president.
Yeah. He zero fucks given. That man was a gangster.
Yeah.
So when it came to China, I give him full props. He understood it. He understood the politics, and
because while everyone's screaming about Russia, and yes, Russia can be
Russia is thing, it's serious. Sure,
China is becoming the new Russia.
Yeah. The money that's coming out of China, like you've seen the recent World Health Organization announcement about the source of the coronavirus. I don't know if you've seen this or not.
I'm guessing they changed it.
Yeah, guess right. That's exactly what happened. So the World Health Organization finally went into Wuhan to examine the supposed viral lab, where the theory that the virus is
the lab leak
the hypothesis theory. Correct.
Yeah.
Now, never mind, it took over a year for them to let them in. So anything that may have been incriminating definitely, got scrubbed as anybody's concerned. But the World Health Organization comes out and basically says, well, there's no evidence. We didn't find anything. Nobody investigated any further. In fact, it might have been Australian beef could have been the source of the virus that was being sold in the market.
Right.
Yeah. Australian fucking beef. As if
because forget the mountains of studies that looked into Chinese wet markets contributing to a majority of the world's infectious coronaviruses.
Correct.
Nah, Australians.
Despite the fact that China has been lying about this virus since 2019.
And I've told you like about some of my friends in Australia who are all like, yeah, fuck China for that.
Yeah.
Like trying to, because they're basically like, China knows full well where Japan stands, but China is kind of like, and they're dealing with the US, but they're sort of the closest neighbor is to the west is Australia, and they're kind of like just there's a little bit of like I don't know what the proper word. There's definitely some
tension,
disagreement,
let's say,
information warfare, almost like trying to discredit
fourth generation warfare.
Trying to like discredit them through different information and stuff. Australia had a very different way of going about. So Colin is asking, wasn't Australians' case numbers pretty chill? Yeah. Australia definitely took a more authoritarian take to the entire pandemic because they restricted interstate travel, and then each individual state would have different policies. Like if someone had cases, they would lock down for a bit and then let up. So they had a lot of like lockdowns and let ups over and over again. Whereas in the US, it's not as easy to do that.
Yeah.
But anyways.
who's rejoined the World Health Organization?
Oh, we did.
Yeah. So after the complete ineptitude and fucking bumbling of the World Health Organization over the coronavirus, plus all of this ridiculous propaganda, Trump basically pulled the plug.
Yeah.
And said he was going to focus on the CDC and, not let the money flow. Well, good old Biden, if Trump did it, it's good to undo it.
So a conversation came up regarding like moving forward with the pandemic and all this here in the US. And one of the big things is also like my sister and my mom being in Taiwan, we're going to try to come over.
Right.
They were like, as soon as this thing blows over, we'll come over, and my sister's going to start school and all this stuff. Like, the pandemic has kind of screwed up the timing for everything.
Sure.
So we're chatting in our family chat, and we basically were like talking about like the vaccine and stuff. So like, I'm into vaccine trial. I think my sister got the vaccine because she works with children. And we were talking about all this. And here's the big problem. Taiwan is going to have a hard time getting a vaccine.
Right. Why?
Because they're not a member of the WHO. They can't get vaccines through the World Health Organization.
Right.
And because the World Health Organization is kind of heavily involved with the vaccines,
I don't think that's going to matter. They can go to the drug companies directly and they can buy it, which is what the UK is
I
doing.
think for the initial distribution right now, is my understanding, is China is definitely trying to block Taiwan out of a lot of this.
Sure.
Let me see here.
Yeah, I'm not too sure how that would work, because the UK, for instance, we're buying up pretty much everything. I think we're ahead of the world in terms of vaccination, but it's a private company. Any country can go there and basically say, oh, okay, we want the vaccine. You're just not going to be, it's going to be first come, first serve. It's not going to be the front of the line sort of thing, which is why the EU is very upset with us, because we're getting the stuff and they're not, because they haven't actually purchased it.
Okay, here we go. China will not, let's see, Taiwan is not getting anything. Yeah. With the way Taiwan is kind of locked down its borders, and of course not being kind of blocked out of the WHO. At least this is my mom thinks that basically the Taiwan's going to be pretty far behind with vaccines. Like, they're containing it within their borders, and they have a lot of procedures in place, but in terms of access to the vaccine,
I don't know. I don't know if that's necessarily going to be the case, because the vaccines are produced by private companies. So there's no government really in the way for them to purchase the vaccine. So I don't know enough about it. I'm not saying I'm an expert, but it's not controlled by any government agency. And the World Health Organization doesn't control the flow of the vaccines. They just, they give advice.
China.
Yeah, but I don't know. Because China has their own vaccine, supposedly. Russia has a vaccine. Europe has a vaccine. So, I mean, there are a lot of, the Americans have their own vaccine as well. I think, Pfizer is American. So,
Pfizer, Moderna.
Yeah. We have AstraZeneca, Valero, I think, out here. And there's a Russian one and there's a Chinese one as well. It's private business. I don't, unless they put some kind of sanctions on it, I don't think it's going to be a major problem. I could be wrong, but keep me posted for sure.
Yeah. So
how are you doing with the vaccine trial though? Have you grown like a second dick?
I mean,
I don't know. Wouldn't that be interesting? I mean, we're having some very interesting results from the vaccines out here.
That's the thing, is like, I haven't been keeping so much on like the stories regarding if vaccines, like, because in the US, the whole vaccines causing problems sort of stories started to kind of die out, because a lot more people have gotten it, and you're starting to see like, oh, there's obviously a normal distribution of some people had bad reactions to vaccines. That's the case with vaccines in general.
Yeah.
But I'm hearing in other countries that these vaccines aren't doing so well.
Yeah.
What's been going on over there?
I know in Norway, for instance, 29 people had died directly as a result of the vaccine, and they're putting it on hold.
Did they have like, high, anaphylaxis or something, or?
No. I mean, it was elderly. So everybody in Europe, they start with the elderly and they go down. So everybody's trying to say, oh, they were frail, they were frail, they were frail. But a lot of people have come out and said, no, they weren't that frail. They were in their 70s. They were pretty spry. They were healthy, no conditions. So there's a lot of conflicting information. In the UK, a lot of our frontline staff, so the NHS staff, have gotten the vaccine. And I'm not saying it's a majority, but a lot of them ended up homesick, and it's been weeks. The reaction has been very intense. A couple have developed seizures, like epilepsy, and
that's what's weird is complications with COVID can lead to seizures and
right. But this is from the vaccine. Yeah. So
that's what's weird is like,
yeah,
because depending upon what they're doing with the vaccine or what it's composed of, it shouldn't be giving you COVID symptoms.
Yeah. Yeah. It really shouldn't. So there's a lot of that going on. And Germany has basically said that they don't want to give it to anybody over 65 because there's no health information that suggests that this is actually useful for anybody over 65. And of course, the UK government is disputing it, and there's a bit of tension going on. So, I mean, my position hasn't changed. I'm not taking it. It's like, yeah, I'm healthy enough, my immune system will probably fight off whatever variant they have. And I suspect that, like all viruses, like all coronaviruses mutate, it's going to get less deadly. The virus wants to survive evolutionarily. It wants to survive. It'll become the flu in about a year or so.
But the UK strain.
Yeah, well, there's the South African strain and the UK strain, and of course the African one is more violent.
I heard something really funny about that. Someone had said, you remember how they were all mad because Trump called it the China virus?
Yes.
But no one is complaining that they call it the British strain.
Right. I mean, there are some people who are complaining, but it's a minority. Nobody gives a shit.
But this is the thing: is just because we it came from China, like Trump kept saying it came from China. That's that. Now I think there's an official term for what the British strain is.
Well, it didn't come from Britain. It was discovered in Britain. So that's a little bit of a difference. Not that it really matters. I don't think the people really care. Just like the one in South Africa, we don't know if it came there. It was discovered there. So the strain that we have in the UK has already been found in Europe.
Oh, COVID strain B117.
Yeah, something like that. It's already in Europe. It was found across there. They suspect it was migrants coming across the channel from France that probably brought the new strain. But as I say, it's been isolated in the UK. Brits don't give a shit. Right? You call it whatever you want.
It came here.
Yeah, they found it in the US already. It didn't start here. We discovered it here. So it's already circumnavigated the globe. Just like the South African strain, it was discovered in South Africa. We don't actually know who was patient zero in that respect.
Did I send you that video, The Empire Strikes Back?
Yeah, I thought that was very funny, the TikTok video.
No, the proper name of this strain is called The Empire Strikes Back. Anyways.
Yeah. The UK strain is called The Empire Strikes Back. Yeah, it's nuts. I mean,
now how does... Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say the problem with it is that with all of the nonsense that's going on, the response does not make any sense in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So we're ahead of pretty much everybody in terms of vaccinations. We're still in lockdown. This is I don't even know what month. This is month 3 of the second part of the lockdown, and they haven't lifted the restrictions as yet. And again, I mean, there have been studies that show that you would get the same results after if you just had voluntary service, like social distancing and mask wearing and stuff like that. So there's no evidence to suggest that the lockdowns are actually that effective, in various countries and stuff like that. We don't know why we're still in lockdown. We don't understand the politics behind this. We don't understand why they're lying about how many people have died. There's, everybody's saying, oh yeah, it's all conspiracies and stuff like, well, if the government would stop lying, then we might actually have more trust in the government, But yeah, that's kind of where it's at. And I'm hoping people are fed up and they're going to start rising up and reopening their stores and other things.
One sec here.
What's that, man?
No, nothing. Yeah. How do you think Brexit is playing into all this then?
Well, we're doing much better than Europe, right? So even Ursula von der Leyen, who is the one of the leaders, she said Brexit has made Britain into a speedboat while Europe is trying to turn a fucking supertanker. And which is, we know that. We know the smaller your country, the less regulation, the less, people on top, the layers of bureaucracy, things happen faster.
Yeah. The quicker you can respond to situations.
Spot on. So that's why the UK is ahead of the world at this point in terms of vaccinations, because we're nimble and we're quick. Plus, we're willing to take risks. We invested money when a lot of these drugs were just in development, while the European Union did not want to spend money on drugs that were not tested and in development. And now we're at the front of the queue while everybody else is behind us, right? So it's definitely been very beneficial so far. We don't know what the tax situation is going to be like, because we have a huge fucking deficit that we've run up. I mean, I've seen Biden's tax plan, which is a complete fucking disaster. Dividend payments are going to basically skyrocket up to like 40%, and he's going to double employment tax and stuff like that. We're in for the same thing out here. We're in for pretty much the same thing out here, where they're going to have to find the money from somewhere. So the fallout from this is not great, which is why I don't understand the lockdowns. You need the economy to come back to life if you expect anybody to pay for this shit,
Speaking of that, the big problem with our with the negotiations and discussions regarding the new COVID relief bill, is they might make people so in terms of qualifications. So they're trying to cut out people because they thought too many people got the stimulus checks.
Right.
So they're thinking about making the changes. So the thresholds of when you get the check and when the amount changes.
Yeah.
Based upon your 2019 tax returns.
Yes. I've seen that.
And it's a lot of people have lost a lot over 2020.
Yeah.
You're going to screw all of them, a lot of them out of their money. Granted, there's definitely some differences in that, but still, it's just send the 1,400 to the same people you sent the 600. That's it. You're done. You're good.
They're not going to. They're going to start doing it based on whether you're with them or against them. They're going to start giving out money to their people. And anybody who's all the Trump supporters, basically half the country who's considered a domestic terrorist, they're not our people. So they're looking for an excuse to do that. They want to funnel money to Democrat supporters, and all of these other things.
Well, there's a part of the bill that's talking about political affiliation.
Oh yeah. There was a proposal that came forward that basically said you cannot give money to anybody who is under investigation for domestic terrorism, which is the groundwork for what they're talking about now.
I don't know if it's bill.
I don't know if it's passed. It's an amendment. I don't know if they've put it through or not, but I haven't actually been following that.
That's pretty. I think that's a bit obscure to be trying to enforce. I know we talked about the gun thing. That's the big concern, because but in terms of the COVID relief, I know they're just trying to they're basically using the wrong data to determine who gets a check and who doesn't.
The minute they start picking winners and losers when it comes to who gets money, it's going to be my side versus their side.
We've been doing that forever, though. I mean,
instead of giving it to all Americans, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, because it's going to be it's a nearly $2 trillion bill.
Yeah,
and if you do the math on $1,400, it's only maybe what, 400 or 500 billion that's going to people. Yeah. The rest going to all the companies, a lot of which probably doesn't have anything to do with COVID. It's just
it's going programs. Overseas. It's going to ridiculous programs.
Yeah,
since
it's going to companies that just should have had better handling of their own money, anyways.
Yeah. No, it's
going to hedge funds.
It's pretty much that's what's going on. It's not for you guys. They don't care about you guys. They're shoring up their campaign funds. So that's part of what's happening there. I mean, your corporate tax is supposed to jump from 21 to 28%, which is, that's pretty high. Income and payroll is going up for the business up to almost 52%. It's going up by from 37 to 52% for the company. I mean, not to mention the minimum wage laws that they're trying to push through at $15 an hour. If there's anybody who's going to destroy the economy of the United States, this is the team that will do it.
Yeah, $15 an hour is going to be a major problem because I'm just thinking across the board with so many jobs. Like, okay, so my job, I make $17 an hour.
Right.
So if minimum wage doubles up to 15,
yes,
that doesn't mean I get a raise.
No, you don't.
It means the value of my work goes down.
Correct. And it also means the price of other things go up because they have to cover $15 minimum wages. So they're not making the economy better.
So all the people surrounding my job have to get paid more.
Yes.
If they're being paid close to minimum wage or something.
Yeah.
Geez.
And it pays off. Like the unions love a $15 minimum wage because it prices labor at a very high price, and the labor unions do it at a cheaper rate. So they get all the jobs. So they actually only pay like $10 an hour for the union. So they can now compete with everybody else and secure all these nice, juicy contracts. So it's a disaster. Like in Scandinavia and all the, everybody's like, oh yeah, the socialist Scandinavian countries. No, I think Norway and Sweden don't even have a minimum wage. It's, you guys are in for, it's pretty fucking crazy, man. In fact, it's so crazy that out here, the French government just came out and said that the woke agenda that's being pushed by the American universities is a threat to the French nation. Did you see this?
China's got masculinity classes.
Yeah, China's trying to beef up their men while paying through all of these things to basically effeminize, and blur the lines between masculinity and femininity. The French love a revolution. A lot of the tenets of your democracy came from the French. They're basically saying the woke shit that's coming out of your universities is a threat to French society. That's how bad the US is. And a lot of these people are now in your government. Yeah. Absolute insanity. Better move to Texas.
We got to end it on a positive note.
Yeah, Texas is going to have independence. We'll all move to Texas. So,
woohoo.
Yeah. My guns.
Anyways,
wash your balls, everyone.
Yes.
Who's
that?
That's my neighbor. I'm in the show. It's fine. I can't answer the phone. Answer the door.
All right. Cool. Now, of course, thanks everyone for joining us. Now, if you do want to support the show, if you do enjoy the show, check out our previous episodes. Subscribe to the channel. Check us on our podcasts, all podcasting platforms. Sorry, I'm a little tongue-tied. This is what happens when you miss a week.
When we're off by a day, the whole thing is just askew,
Yeah. But if you want to support the show in other ways, check out tacticalsoap.com. Use coupon code 10KRUM for 10% off all your tactical soap needs. And, of course, check out subscribestar.com/shitlord-preachers to check out our monthly pledging, so you can pledge for as little as $1 a month to support the show. We of course are going to be on from now on Tuesdays, unless something radically changes again. We're just always we're trying to do it on a weekly basis, but if my schedule changes with work, Brook has a flexible enough schedule he can do whatever day.
Yes.
So I'm just like kind of going with it, whatever happens. So anyways, check us out, of course, next week on Tuesday at 11 o'clock Central Time, and, of course, in the morning. And we will see everyone.
Wait. Just want to say, everybody who's watching, please be sure to like the video. I also want to put a note in that we are available on all major podcasting platforms. So we would like to see our numbers bumping up. Some people can't see the show live, but we do appreciate you guys.
Yes.
So yes, just wanted to throw that in there.
Awesome.
Oh, and V, I'm having an interview with V for Vernon. He's in the chat. I will be doing that on my channel on this Saturday. If anybody wants to come in, we're talking men's rights, music, politics, and all the good stuff. So I just want to plug that really quick.
Sounds good. Awesome. We will, of course, see everyone next week on Tuesday.
Thanks for watching, everyone.